Shares of cloud-based software company Snowflake tumbling in the session today, down about 10.5%. After that big debut yesterday, we saw the stock on its first day on the market up more than 100% there. That propelled Snowflake into rank the 7th most valuable company on the NASDAQ Emerging Cloud Index. But is the valuation justified? Let's bring in Dan Howley, who has been watching this company for us. And Dan, we should point out this is a company that has seen significant revenue growth, 141% year on year on average over the last 4 quarters. So there is a huge growth story here, but 111% pop on the first day.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is the cloud environment we're talking about, right? And I know it sounds like a buzzword that's been around for a while, but in actuality, a lot of companies still aren't using the cloud, despite the fact that we talk about the services that are available. And I think that's why you saw that pop. The more companies that get into the cloud space, the more opportunity there is. But there's only so many or so much of an addressable market there. Fortunately, we haven't reached any kind of saturation point. So that's why, again, you saw that 111%. But, I kind of want to push back against that as well, because it's not as though there's no competition for them. And some of the competition comes from some of the biggest names in cloud. We're talking about Amazon. They have Amazon Redshift, which is a direct competitor to Snowflake. We have Microsoft with their SQL database. That's a direct competitor. We have Google, IBM, all of those kinds of firms, Oracle, are big competitors. And I think, if you look at something like a Snowflake, you might be able to say, okay, well, it's more focused, so that way it can provide better access to or support for our customers. But, I think in the long run, a lot of these companies that we see are probably going to end up merging or being bought up through M&A action. And I think that we're seeing kind of the birth of cloud companies and birth of I guess, the cloud industry in general. But at some point, it's all going to shake out. So I'm not saying that's going to happen to Snowflake, but I am saying that, as we see more and more of these companies kind of debut, eventually there's going to be some kind of reverse action.
Yeah, and Dan, it's worth noting in terms of the pricing, there are questions about whether it was priced incorrectly, whether the company left some money on the table, given the significant pop they saw in the first day in the market. But to your point, this is really a competitive space. How does Snowflake stack up against the competition? You're talking about big names like Amazon and Microsoft. What is the competitive advantage?
Yeah, I think really it's their size, right? They're not so large that people may feel as though they would get lost in the shuffle with something like using Microsoft or like using Amazon. So it's something where they're able to kind of lean into that. It's also very targeted, right? They're working with these database kind of cloud platforms. It's not necessarily a huge, massive cloud platform. But part of the problem that they have is they work directly with Amazon's web services, AWS, and they have a commitment to spend on AWS for some time. So that's going to be an issue, I think, going forward for them. But look, we've seen issues with cloud companies kind of having to fight back against the services that they rely on as well, specifically with Amazon in the past. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
Okay, we'll be watching closely. Thanks so much for that, Dan.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.